Get Warrior Tough, Mental Training 101 with Andrew Wittman and Dutch Coleman. And now back to Andrew and Dutch.
All right, we're back at it. Dutch is on the Twitter at @TheDutchColeman. I'm at Warrior Tough PhD. Use the hashtag #GetWarriorTough. Go to the website, getwarriortough.com. Listen, we're talking about this Uber using psychological, manipulative tactics, mixing it with machine learning and AI and tech. They're not the only ones doing it. Anybody in this gig economy is starting to do it. Microsoft has done it. Google has done it to different they've applied it in different ways. Sales organizations that use contests are similar, but they're not using the tech yet. And so, Dutch, here's the deal. Because of the gig economy, they're all like Postmates and Mechanical Turk, and they're all independent contractors. So they're not. The companies have a lot more room to do this stuff because they're not employees. Whereas employees, you have to pay them, overtime or salary, and there's a lot more. The labor laws apply to employees differently than they do to contractors. Now, so look, these psychological tricks, they're out there. They work. Okay, that's why they do them. They work. So Google, here's an example of how Google did it. They calculated that their employees, they took their data, that their employees interact more with unfamiliar colleagues if they're at the snack bar together, if they graze at the snack bar. So what they do is they set it up so that they have to be at the snack bar together so that they would begin to talk to each other.
Brilliant. I mean,
that ain't a bad thing. So what they do is say you could get free food if you guys would go talk to each other and help their employees get engaged. This is an example of a good use of engagement. And so now we have collaborative teams because, listen, who don't like free chow? And everybody, they all chat it up.
Well, we're pulling back the curtain. So now you're going to have a bunch of people going to the chow and then grabbing it, taking it back to their desk real quick.
Yeah, because they don't.
I ain't gonna. Dutch and Andrew told them what they were doing to me. I ain't letting them do this to me. I'm gonna grab it. No. Again, you take these tools and you figure out how they can help you get what you want, because these are effective. So why run from these tools when you can turn the tables? And not to ruin the organization, but to get something out of it yourself. It may help your production.
It'll help your career. Listen,
right.
When you know people and people know. Listen, okay, so here's the deal. People always go, you can get ahead. It's you get ahead. It's not what you know. It's who you know. But that's not true. It's who knows you.
Right.
I know a lot of people, but they don't know me.
And who's to say it's not a little bit of everything? Because you need to know something. You need to know who, and they need to know you.
All right, all those things. And this right here, they're facilitating a way to get employees to be engaged with each other and the mission, and all it did is cost them some snacks.
Absolutely.
So that's a good use of it. Uber, however, is kind of, again, they love that. They call it in the article legal and ethical purgatory because they don't have to. They're not constrained by the laws of employment. So what they're doing is trying to master the mental circuitry of their drivers, right? So, and exploit them is really what they're doing. That's what the article says. They're trying to exploit them. Then why they say exploit them is because they're trying to get them to work more for less pay. And that really is a throwback to pre-union. This is how the unions came along, because the big robber barons were exploiting workers for less pay.
Back then it seemed like there was more strong arming going on, right? Which the laws came in place. Right. So it was less scientific and it was less covert, right? It was more out in the open.
Yeah, absolutely, totally in the open.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, with it being more covert and based in science and behavioral science, they still can fall back on, hey, they have a choice. They don't have to do that. They don't have to be here. They can go home.
They actually say that. They're like, listen, we're not holding a gun to it. They can go. They have the choice. They're 100% in control.
Absolutely. And these organizations are telling the 100% truth when they say that, right?
That's right.
They're telling the truth, as we know truth is.
Yep.
The truth is you can leave anytime you want.
But the fact is that we're going to put a whole bunch of psychological levers in place that we know that you're going to, that triggers certain behaviors. So there's a professor with the law professor at the University of Washington named Ryan Callow, and with Alexander Rosenblatt wrote a paper about the way companies are using big data and algorithms, machine learning, to exploit psychological weaknesses in their workers. Okay, so and Uber they're doing it, right? So what they're doing is using what they know about the human machine, what they know about the drivers, specifically the data that the drivers put in the app, where they go, how long they work, what their income targets are, and then they control all that and then try what they see in their apps to channel their behavior to go in the direction they want them to go. And again, it's 100% the driver's choice. They're not being coerced. They're being persuaded.
And you cannot sue in the court of law because someone's persuading you.
No, you can't. That's why I call it a con machine instead of a con man, because that's basically what I'm doing is getting you, Okay, so here's what they got. They have a bunch. They have they're expanding the pool of drivers as Uber is doing this massive growth and disrupting the cab industry everywhere. They need more and more drivers to do it, right? Because the way they're doing it is it's cheap ride and it's fast. You don't have to wait and it's cheap. So who doesn't want that? Well, but the drivers, there's tons of turnover. They need a lot to start with, and there's a bunch of turnover because they don't make any money. So they kind of treat them not humanely, is what the article says. So they even asked the executives, they're like, hey, what are we doing to have more empathy for the driver side of the equation? So what they came up with to be more empathetic was so the local managers would send out like texts and emails like, hey, the morning rush has started, get to this area, that's where the biggest demand is. What they found was that most of the drivers are men, so if the text came from a female persona, they would respond better. So you got this Ed Franson, who's a veteran Uber driver in Chicago, said they're constantly sending you in a certain direction. Text, emails pop up all day long. So what the managers who were men would do was create, like Laura is one of them. Laura was one of the dispatchers, if you will, that would tell drivers, hey, there's a concert about to let out. You should head over there. And they would go. Because Laura texted them. Like, if you had some chick texting you, hey, the concert's about to let out, let's go over there to pick up rides. Right. So that's one way that they're and they did acknowledge that they had experimented with using female personas to increase engagement with drivers.
And all they're doing is using what men have been known to do based on science, how we behave, behavioral science, and they're using it to their advantage.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, if it
didn't work, they wouldn't use it.
Right. And if you don't want to be that way, then don't be that way as a man. Don't respond, or men in general don't respond to that. But that's what we do. That's what they know, and it's effective. So again, how can we take that same thought process and that same behavioral science that a lot of it is common knowledge. Now they go deeper, but on the surface we know some of these things, but we don't use this information to help us. Right. We let it be used on us.
Right. So that's why I always send my smoking hot wife out to talk to the police officer.
That's what we. But if you think about it, that's what we teach. We teach in People Whisperer to take this same information, the same data, behavioral science, and how to help you. So they're basically, it's like this machine went through our People Whisperer course,
kind of,
and now they're out there.
You know what I mean? But it's just because it's a machine. It's just ramping it up on steroids because this is just the beginning, and that's why I'm not sure about. It's kind of unleashing the Pandora's
because
box.
they're going deeper, and to me, what we teach in People Whisperer, see the reason why we take you through CEO of You first,
right,
is because the skills we teach you is how to get what you want, right?
But you have an internal identity, right?
Right. So you're not out to at all costs to hurt others, to do whatever damage, whatever.
You never hear us say. You'll never hear us say, do whatever it takes.
Right. What we do say is we're not teaching you People Whisper until you go through CEO of You, and then you understand that.
But
the machine
didn't go through.
Has no concept of CEO of You.
Right. That's why. I guess that's why I'm struggling with this a little bit.
Absolutely, because it is doing what you can to gain yourself, but it is doing it at all costs.
Yeah, Right. And that's why, I struggle with teaching because this is scientifically based what con men do. And I say that in all of our seminars when we teach People Whisper. I'm about to teach you is it's science. And they're taking the science and they're just, so again, in a way it does, validate the stuff that we teach because they're using it. But so anyway, they have this. One of the things that they also do is that people, if they get 25 rides, if a new driver completes 25 rides, they get a signing bonus. So on that app, you get this positive, cheery little thing from Laura telling you, hey, you only have 15 more rides before you get that bonus. Keep driving. You keep going, Tiger. You know, and then there would be a prompt that would say, you know, hey, you need 15 more rides from Laura with the Bitmoji or whatever. And then you could click go offline or click keep driving. And, of course, keep driving is already highlighted as the default mode. So you almost have to, you know how like those pop-ups to sign up for an email, but you have to search to find the little click out no thank you button.
Yeah.
That's like what they're doing, right? So they make it easy to keep driving. You can't find the go offline button for nothing. Okay, and the guy's like, we got screenshots of dozens of these things, man. So this one guy, his name is Mr. Streeter, and he was working full-time for both Lyft and Uber, but then he had to quit because what happened was he made like $20,000 working full-time like every week for a year, but he lost money. He wasn't making his bills, man, because he was losing money on gas and all that stuff. So the next thing that they would do on top of all that, what they would do is they would do this thing, they make it like a video game. So they took like video game psychology. Now, if you've ever played a video game, they said it even started back like in the 80s and 90s with Tetris. Do you remember that game Tetris?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was kind of like reverse Jenga or whatever. The little blocks would come down. Yeah. Well, and what happened, and they said that Tetris wasn't meant to do this, but now the psychologists, they call this thing the ludic loop. The Ludic loop. Ludic loop, it's a Finnish term. But it means irresistible. So you get addicted to getting to the next level and the next level and the next level. Now, how the games work, and listen, I don't play these games, but I did play Tetris. So what happens is with Tetris, like they will make it so that you can't win. And if you stay on that level long enough, all of a sudden that hard level, just like magically, it'll be like the easiest time you did. Boop, boop, boop. You're like, dude, I did it. And it'll go bloop. And then you get more lives or like little badges and stars. And right. So then it makes you want to keep going because you did a good job. It's just like what Dale Carnegie used to say. If you tell somebody you did a good job, what's that make you want to do?
Do more.
Right, but if I said you did an awful job, you stink, I can't even believe, you're worth nothing, what's that make you want to do? Is quit.
Do a better job.
Yeah, you're awful, Dutch. I don't know why. So that's what they would do. So Uber, they would have this app that it would be like a fuel graphic, with the fuel gauge or the speedometer, but the engine gauge with the needle would come and to go towards their bonus line. So they would make it like you were doing an RPM gauge, and as you did more rides, like if you did 100 rides, it would get closer, or 25 rides to your bonus. But they would just keep that money gauge just shy of hitting the dollar sign. So you got to keep going and get another ones. And it worked, man, keeping drivers on the road. So they're tapping in. And listen, like I said, gaming has been going on in businesses for a long time. If you've ever had a sales competition or recruiting competition or any of those things, they're doing, but just Uber's doing it with algorithms and machine learning, man. It's very high speed. And
it's brilliant. I mean, you can't be mad at it.
I ain't.
And people, again, we're encouraging people to not be mad at it. We're encouraging people to and I know we're right up on a break.
Are you serious? This time?
Yeah, we're actually at a break, but yeah.
All right.
You gotta pay attention, people. Pay attention.
All right, we'll be right back. You're listening to Dutch and Andrew on the Get Warrior Tough Radio Show.